Hello, my name is Colrain. My pronouns are they, them, and this video, if you've clicked on it, you are in some way connected to a message that has to do with one of these piles. Today we are doing a very classic tarot reading where we are going to use the Celtic cross spread and look at a situation, a relationship, some kind of experience that you're going through in your life. So at this moment, I would like for you to set the intention of whatever experience, situation, whatever that you want to get a closer look at, or see from a different perspective, or maybe get some advice on. So if you are in that centered place, if you have found your meditative space and you feel connected to your intuition and you're ready to receive, feel free to select a pile. This is pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. Otherwise, if you need another minute or two to collect yourself, I would recommend pausing the video, taking 5 to 10 deep meditative breaths, and really focusing on body consciousness, focusing on where your intuition connects with your body, and maybe finding that place of center within a central column of the body, or grounding yourself down into your feet. So if you are ready, I will see you in your pile. If not, I'll see you in a little bit longer. Bye. Hello, pile 1. If you selected pile 1, this is your reading. I just sprayed a lavender spray across to cleanse the air, cleanse the energy, and allow me to connect with you as the audience of pile 1. So that's why I'm wiping the card off. It got a little bit of a spritz. So this is your signifier card, and this is representing who you are in this moment, in this situation. It could kind of hold the core of the situation, but let's see. So this is abundance. Interesting. And I want you to get a good look at this card because there's a lot grouped, and there's a lot about energies that you have to distinguish from your own from the situation. So I'm getting the sense that a lot of you are asking about situations that involve a lot of people, a lot of perspectives. This could even be related to life purpose type work, or things that you see as fulfilling that energy of purpose within your life. But there's something about other people being highly involved in the forward movement of this situation. Sorry, I'm checking on my plant because I feel like it might be getting a little bit toasty roasty here. And it's interesting that I just had my attention pulled because I feel like there's something that is pulling your attention to, check the little details of the situation. Because I'm drawn to this fire in the center of the abundance card, the 6 of bows. So there's something that elevates your status, or helps you to feel like what you're doing, again, has meaning. So that life purpose kind of a thing. And this situation feels at times like you have to collect a lot to keep the fire going. So I'm imagining that this fire is something that maybe, sustains a whole group or a whole community. And these things that are gathered around it are maybe the excess. And so sometimes it's like Spirit wants you to remember, or your guides, or whoever you believe in as being a guiding force in your life, or whatever you believe as being a guiding force in your life, wants to remind you of that energy of abundance, as this card is saying. That ability to, provide for yourself. And I feel like there are a lot of different resources that are involved, especially I keep being drawn to this forest in the back, and so there's something around roots, change. The word radical is coming up, and it's funny because I have that word tattooed on me, and I know that the word technically, the Webster dictionary definition, is from the root. So there's something about your ability to, resonate, to have compassion for people that are like you or have a similar experience to you. And so whoever or whatever you're asking about has a connection of allowing you to feel supported. So like if you're asking about like a love connection, for example, this is maybe someone who you may have a lot of like financial ties with, or there's some kind of more foundational connection to this person that's beyond just that like emotional romantic connection. Okay, so I want to get what's crossing the situation, and I also wanted to give this card, which is the conscious experience. Maybe I can move this candle back a little bit. Okay, so crossing the Six of Bows. So the first card in the Celtic cross is always that, signifier, recognizing yourself within the situation, you as being, that driven force at this moment, somebody who has a lot of vision, has a lot of spiritual focus and direction, right, with that abundance and being connected to a lot of people. Here with this cross is something that is influencing the situation, or maybe an issue or something that is, the reason for asking the question. And we have here the Green Man. The Green Man in this deck represents, the Celtic representation of a masculine, but I want to pull it out of that gendered energy and allow us to look at this card as more of like a balanced creator, or someone who because of this imagery in the background of the card, it connects to another card in this deck, which is the Five of Bows, and that card says empowerment. So this card definitely has to do with this, eagle or falcon symbolism here, with our foresight, our ability to envision ourselves somewhere. Again, how I just talked about you as being somebody with vision. There's something here being highlighted about your ability to see what you want in the future and start to take, that vision or that idea and really focus on it. And I feel like it's not even about the actions that you take right now. It's more about how you pursue and how you keep things on an idea perspective, especially with this Page of Arrows representing the conscious mind. And what we're going to do as we, dive deeper into this Celtic cross is underneath the signifier card here representing the, base, where we're connected, the foundation of the situation is going to be the subconscious. So things that are maybe more hidden from the perspective. But right now what you're looking at is this Page of Arrows energy, the Wren. Maybe it's a winter period for you in your life, and it's interesting for you to see yourself depicted as abundance because it's something that's more of an inner resource for you at the moment. But this Wren being surrounded by, a cold climate still can find the, branches and the, pieces of, I want to call them kindling, I guess, but like those little tiny pieces to weave the nest, to potentially prepare for that spring moment where, we have the eggs in the nest and there are things that are growing. So for you, I feel like, especially with this being Page of Arrows, arrows representing air, the mind, our ability to communicate, it's something that is forming, and the page being the immature energy, or the energy of newness, of excitement, of exploration. Your mind is moving sometimes faster than your body can. And so what you're being guided to focus on at this moment is your ability to dream, is your ability to, see something that isn't there, or see things the way that they are and expand upon them. So there's something around taking what already exists and pushing it to its boundaries or its limits, or, finding its potential. And I feel like this could even be for some of you about yourself as well, and like your own limits and your own, potential in like how you experience the world and who you show up as. So we're going to look at the past. And this is the Queen of Stones, so this is earth energy. And it's the bear in reverse. And I feel like this is an energy of, because it's in the reverse, I feel like it's a sending away or a preventing oneself from connecting authentically with people, especially if there's other people's energies that are so tied in with you at this moment. I feel like you're potentially at the point where you're allowing your energy to open more to other people, to other ideas, to other energies in general. There's something that's being opened, whereas in the past you may have been more reserved, or something about this situation was kept from moving or connecting or finding, its mate or support in some way. You're opening yourself up now to love and connection, and there's this river that's being drawn to my attention. And so it's like you may see that the land around the river is unusable at this point, with that snow on top, or its use is limited. I don't want to say it's unusable, but there's something about not being able to plant seeds, because the seeds, or the ability to plant, the place in which you plant, has to be withheld from you for a bit in order for you to be able to get out of that old energy where you are in more of a defense mode. Because the thing about a bear is highly smart, knows its way around, it knows the things to find in the space that it's in, to care and to nurture and to provide for not only itself but for its young, especially because we have that kind of family example that's placed by the bear. But you have to, at this point, allow yourself to not use your claws. And that's kind of a funny message, because I feel like a lot of you have an ambitious energy. You have a very pointed, questioning, not in a bad way, but like you're not going to let anybody get away with anything. That's definitely the energy that I'm getting from this pile. And so it's something where you're recognizing your own ambitions, your own diplomacy, I'm hearing. So ability to maybe step outside of a social comfort zone that you've created. Let's see what's the foundation, the subconscious, the root of the situation. And we have the green woman. So again, we're going to pull, let me make sure this is in sight. We're going to pull this outside of its gendered context again and look at this more of like the step before what's crossing your path at this moment, the energy that's influencing. So your subconscious may still be stuck on things that you've done in preparation for the person you see yourself to be. So you may still be living out a certain identity, especially since I see this as a card where we form identity. It's a stage where we start to see those spiritual insights be reflected in our physical form. And so you, in the subconscious mind, this is also a very receptive energy, I guess. It's one where you're not trying to push too hard, and you're not trying to, take too many actions. You're trying to survey the situation. Do you see how the liquid in this cauldron is opaque? You can't see through it. There's a certain amount of faith that needs to be relied on what's being created, and that's kind of what's happening here, because here is the liquid is, translucent, ability to see within, and here the eyes are facing towards the person viewing the card, with the spirit guides or these assistants on the hands, allowing you to both give and receive from a more intuitive perspective. And so I see that as a very healthy subconscious or foundational energy for you to have, because it's one where you're coming from a place of self-worth as well, and one where you're not trying to censor the more difficult emotional experiences, or honestly any experience in the emotional body. You may want to watch yourself speak, is something that I'm also hearing before I start to go into these other energies in the spread. But watching your words, what you're saying about yourself to create yourself, is really important. Okay. So let's get a card for your power. What is... Okay. Well, we have a bonus card here, I guess, but I'll leave it with it because I feel it is important. Let me make sure this is... Okay, so this is your power in the situation. We're gonna look at the people around you. Okay, again, right on point with what I've picked up so far. Hopes and fears. Hopes and fears. We're gonna take the card that's upright. The other card is generosity. So, and finally, we're gonna look at the outcome. But actually, we'll pull that in a moment. So, your power in the situation looks like it's coming from your heart. Do you see this bright light that's literally being illuminated from the chest of the person standing here? And also from, again, we have this abundance energy and these stones. So it's definitely like this representation of self that is very much in conversation with your material body and your material surroundings. So I don't know if you do like manifestation rituals that have to do with like material objects, or maybe you don't even consider yourself to be an extremely like, you know, ritual oriented person, but there's something about what you do with material goods that has to do with like what other people might see as a magic ritual. So yeah, there's something interesting about that, especially when it's paired with the 8 of stones or the 8 of earth, which says skill, and this is someone who's crafting, but they're by themselves. And with the handprint too, it's a very unique impression of self. And so again, I feel like your power comes from who you are. So whether this be in your body, you know, the ways that your body influences how you experience the world socially, maybe the ways that your family provided for you, you know, financially, or maybe the lack of that. There's something about like your origins as well and your base, the kind of where you come from, that gives you a bit of an edge in whatever field you're in or whatever this situation is. It gives you a unique perspective. Here, the people around you, with the 4 of bows and the word celebration, again, I'm seeing that you have quite a bit of support, and there are quite a few people around you that want to see you succeed and that want to see your world transformed or see your vision enacted. It's a matter of sharing that vision, and I feel like right now you feel like maybe nobody's going to listen to you, or you don't know quite how to share it, but you're again laying the roots, laying the groundwork for what's going to come in the future. And I see this repeated in this reading. People feel that your energy makes a space for them, because I'm going to remind you of what this card looked like, the one that was representing you. There's all these baskets and a fire, and then here at the 4, everyone's dancing around it, around the clearance. And so it's like your energy pulls people together. And it's really, this is intriguing. With the adder being the 9th card, the energy of your hopes and fears, I think in some ways, while you're trying to create change, you're also afraid of it with this snake. Um, I think you're afraid of your own power as well, of stepping into it. There's quite a bit of fire energy in this pile. There's fire around the cauldron, there's a fiery sky, there's fire in the center of who you are or the situation. Fire represents change. It represents our spiritual and philosophical growth, the expansion, the destruction, that unique balance of those energies in terms of creating and destroying and, you know, moving things around. And I think you're afraid of moving. I think you're afraid in some sense of people not understanding your intention behind what you're trying to do in the situation, whatever it is. And I see this sometimes as being stuck between a rock and a hard place. And so I think your hopes are, yes, for this, like, you know, power of like medicine, the way that the snake represents medicinal change and that ability to heal and grow and transform. But on the other hand, the venom of the snake is equally able to, you know, destroy life and not help it continue. And it's interesting. I think it's really a self-image thing here that is the fear. I think it's a fear of the ego taking over, a fear of, you know, getting too power hungry or losing sight of what the vision originally intended. And so I think we're at the perfect point for the outcome. And did you see how powerfully that card just flew out? I don't know if you could see that, but Two of Bows, decision. I feel like the outcome brings you right back to where you are, because every decision that you make in this moment, in the next moment, in the moments to come, leads to exactly where you know you want to be. You have a vision that you need to follow. Whatever this situation is, because it's going to be different for each of you, as this is a general reading, and I can't dig any deeper than what I'm being given right now. Your ability to maintain that insight and to allow yourself to be flexible enough to continue making decisions from this like perspective of, you know, taking in and observing what you can and then using that information to your advantage is going to prove to push you in the direction that you want to go and allow you to lean more into your ability to connect with community and to see what brought you to that in the first place. Because I see this figure almost as like a Moses figure, somebody who just listens and receives, like your subconscious is already telling you. You have everything that you need to channel what you are wanting. And so whether this be, you know, a relationship or a job opportunity or a creative vision that you have, you know exactly where you want this to go, and you're allowed to change direction on that at any point. And so I feel like this is a beautiful outcome to have, because it's leading you back into the moment right now and telling you don't get caught up in the future. You're allowed to balance out everything that you need and take it one moment at a time, 1 or 2 steps. You know, we have 2 feet so that we can stand strong, and so that we can, you know, find ourselves in a point of balance if we need to lift one up or if we lose one. We're able to, you know, have both sides of ourselves. And I feel like this is an experience of spiritual duality where, you know, in order to, for example, create power, you also have to feed into other things that are maybe more like shadows of the situation, but they have to coexist in order to be able to move forward and to have anything happen. Okay, I just want to mention you have the 10 of Bows, responsibility on the back of the deck again with this fire. You're moving in the right direction, and I feel like this is a self-mastery process for you, pile 1. So I hope that this helped. I hope that this gave you some kind of insight, something to, you know, some brain food to chew on today. I want to thank the guides that came through and assisted in, you know, creating such a clear message today. I want to thank every other force, the land, the air, our planetary bodies, our cultures, that have all come together and contributed to this moment and this time in this space where we were able to meet today. So I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you in another video. Bye, my friend. Hello, Pile 2. If you selected Pile 2, this is your Celtic cross reading. So, I immediately saw a peacock in my mind when I tapped into this pile, so that could be a significant, symbol for you, or just represent, a guide or an animal that their life force or their, kind of animal culture or behavior or way of being, their embodiment supports the energy of either someone or something in the situation that you're inquiring about. I feel like for a lot of you, you're very focused on this situation, this environment, this way of being, whatever you're contemplating about. This group has less of an open perspective, and not to say that in like a negative way at all, but I'm just saying you're a bit more zoned in as to what you're asking about. And so the things are going to become very specific in this reading is what I'm trying to preface with. So this being your signifier for you or the situation that you're asking about being 6 of stones, which represents earth, it says exploitation. So this card depicts 2 people who have a bowl, and they are looking up to the sky almost as if they are asking, why me? Like, why am I allowed to be taken advantage of? And it's interesting because I've never seen this card in this way, but in this context, I view this card as being, you know how in Buddhism there are monks who are given, 3 things to live. They have their bowl, their robe, and, maybe something to write with, or shoes or something. They have very minimal amount of material items. And I almost feel like, not to say that Buddhist monks are doing this to themselves at all, but I almost feel that this is a self-exploitation or an experience of keeping oneself small to appease an idea or an ideal or an expectation. So I do feel that there's someone that you've given divine power to that is outside of yourself in this situation, and they almost have the ability to control you in almost an unhealthy way. And if it's not another person, it's a mindset, it's a belief, it's a philosophy, it's something that didn't come from your own will, if that makes sense. So that's really interesting that this is describing you. It's almost like you are eclipsed by this feeling of limit or lack or oppression, or there's something oppressive about your environment, because this is in the earth suit, that feels like it needs to be looked at in a different way. So we have the card crossing, or the situation in general, like the maybe problem, quote unquote, and that's the star. This is super interesting because I was actually out today, and when I got the inspiration to film this video, I saw the star card, this specific star card, in my mind, and knew that someone was going to get a message about not following the guidance or listening to the abundance that has been given to them. And I think that clarifies that 6 of stones card even more, because it's almost like Spirit has given you the signs, the guidance, the yes, the no, the answer that you've been asking for, and it's almost like you doubt when it's been given to you, or you knew the answer but you asked the question anyway. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And it's something that it's funny because I kind of did this earlier. I knew what I wanted to do or I knew the truth of a situation or what was working for me. And I still asked for guidance on it. And when I got the answer, it was the opposite of what I knew. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to go with what I know anyway. And so it's kind of that energy where, like, you don't need someone visibly to show you or like materially to confirm what you already know. And that's why I think it's interesting that this person is going into the dark, but they're illuminated. Their aura is what's the brightest thing in this forest. It's almost like you're trying to avoid collective things right now. You may need to go into a period of no contact with other people, or no contact with specific ideas, or I don't know, it may be like even like a social media thing where like you are really interested in something. Like, for example, let's say you're really into a certain video game and you know, listen to people talk about it all the time and you play it all the time. It's like, let's set this down for a moment and then come back. That's just an example. I don't feel like it'll apply for a lot of you, but there's something like that. And so the Knight of Arrows, this is the suit of air in this deck, the hawk. Being in the conscious mind is interesting because the hawk looks right towards you. And so in your consciousness, again, you know exactly what is coming of the situation. It's interesting because there's prophecy involved in this. You know exactly the steps that you need to take towards something, but it's not being put into action quite yet. And the Knight is the energy where our mind starts to become conscious and we start to push through the discomfort of not knowing or of trying to control, and we gain a bit more ability to work between that knowing and being and doing and receiving. Does that make sense? Like, those things kind of go back and forth and they are interdependent on one another. I almost feel like for some of you, this is an identity that's hinged on your association with another person or a group, and you know that you need to change your relationship to this thing, but you're not quite sure how you want to approach that change because you know it changes the way that you see yourself and the way that you have to start presenting or speaking about this thing publicly, or even like in less of a, some of you see public as being like your immediate family, which is really interesting. There's some very highly introverted people in this group. Let's see what's going on with the past. So what's a past influence? Whoa, okay, that was quite a jump. And there were two cards again. So we have the Five of Stones, endurance, and the Knight of Bows, fox. Let me make sure that that's still in view. Yes, it is. Okay. So again, usually I see this Knight of Bows with the fox as being, you know, the more like quote unquote like light attributes of the card, or like that animal, whereas it's like, you know, directed focus, the ability to hunt, you know, good partnership, these kind of things of like spiritual growth. But I feel like in this situation it's again highlighting this more manipulative energy, or deceptive energy, and I feel like this is again self-deception, not seeing one's spiritual power until it's given away. Five of Stones, endurance, stoking the fire here. It's interesting because I was just talking to my friend about this card, and there's an energy of like question to this card where we ask, you know, why is this person in this situation where they're on their own and they feel that they have limited resources? And I think I just want to leave that question there in terms of your past. Why do you feel like you didn't have what you needed in the past? Was it an actual unfulfilled experience, or something that you genuinely needed but weren't allowing yourself to have? Or is it oppression? Is it someone else, you know, withholding something from you? why is the energy of endurance here in your past? And I think I just want to leave that there while I light this incense and cleanse our space. Because I feel such a headache coming on in this pile. It's like overthinking to the max, y'all. And I feel like for some of you, this is a message of like your spiritual beliefs really need to start being grounded in things that you observe and feel and see and connect with in other people. So for some of you, it's like way too far in the ideals. So again, focus on the fire with this fire energy here. Focusing on the spiritual side of things while neglecting that, like, the emotional, material, mental, all these other aspects of something. Maybe focusing on creating, like putting the cart before the horse. I feel like that's a bit of the energy that's going on in the past. And it's something that woke you up with the lightning there. Something that woke you up to a truth in your life, and it's something that you've realized. And I think that's why in the conscious mind, we have moving, mental, conscious energy. So let's look at the root of the situation, or the subconscious, which I believe I was supposed to pull before the past card, but who cares? There's no structure in tarot. Well, I guess there is, but it's not rigid. So we have the Three of Arrows in the reverse, jealousy. This is negative self-talk is something that I'm feeling quite a bit. And I feel like, what is this? I'm starting to tap on my body. I wish I remembered what this was called, but it's, I wish I could show you. It's like you take your fingertips and you tap on your body to regulate your nervous system. I feel like a lot of you would benefit from that, and doing affirmations at the same time to rewire and restructure, especially if you've been through abusive or manipulative situations or oppressive situations. Rebuilding up that self-sovereignty is going to be really essential for you in order to help empower that vision of self, or like that self concept that needs to be focused in this situation to affirm your own inner knowing. I feel like what this does is it opens doors in terms of your psychic abilities as well, and your ability to see spirit embodied, because right now there's a neglect for the material, and rightfully so. A lot of manipulation and corruption in this world has to do with the money and financial realm, and so a lot of you have neglected or rejected that energy almost entirely, waiting for other people to kind of define that or provide you with that. It's really interesting. So I do think that there's a lot of like pain and hurt and frustration and limitation that exists in this subconscious mind. So can we get your power in this situation? Outside influences / assisting energies or perspectives from others in this situation. This energy is hesitant. I think you're nervous about if a lot of you, I feel like you're asking about another person. And so I think you're nervous about what their perspective is, or what their role is in this situation. That's why. We have the Queen of Arrows, Swan, and the Seven of Bows, Clearance. May we also get a card for the hopes and fears? Thank you. Tower. Yes. And I will wait to pull the outcome card. So let's look at this a little bit closer. Queen of Arrows, Swan. Seven of Bows, Clearance. Again, the fire. This person sees, if it's a person, for a lot of you it is, but whatever the outside perspective is on this situation, people see your own desire to persevere, that endurance energy again. And I believe they see a bit more of your subconscious than you even do at times. People recognize a bit more of the driving force behind some of your actions. So a lot of people, this may bring them to either have compassion for you or behave very strangely to the point where you feel like, is this person supportive of me, or are they just busy? You know, like, you kind of question people's intentions right now, regardless of who they are. But what's happening right now is showing you, you know, who's fighting for you and who's kind of fighting against you and who's fighting alongside you, and who's maybe not putting in the effort that you are, if that makes sense, because there's like many different energies. If this is a person, this may be like a clearing of either energy within a connection or clearing of like certain people in your life, if this is like many different situations, because for some of you this is like redirecting you to show you, you know, more desirable ways of connecting with others, or connecting. For some of you, this is like choosing, like, you know, experts that you trust or people that you want to, like, you know, receive advice from as well. Your empowerment, which I've skipped over a little bit, is the Six of Vessels reunion in the reverse. And so I feel like your power here is knowing when to, you know, where to put your loyalties, where your loyalties lie. And I think also, like, what routines and exercises benefit, you know, healthy and mutual relationships. There's pain in my jaw right now. So there's something about, like, you know, squeezing. You may actually grind your teeth at night for a few of you. Maybe get that checked out if you resonate with that. But there's some kind of, like, frustration and, like, pent-up emotions that are being held, like, in the body, very tense. And so it's interesting that this is coming up while I'm interpreting your power, because there's something about you releasing depressive experiences, rejecting old patterns of yourself or old beliefs and ideas about yourself, that's really helping to move yourself forward and keep you from feeling like you're dependent on others right now. We are all, you know, we have to be dependent on each other, but there's something here that's like you're empowering yourself to not only be dependent on others, if that makes sense. Like, it's not an over dependency, it's just coexistence for you, and you're starting to, like, believe in your ability to do that. Your hopes and fears here being this Tower card or the Blasted Oak. We have, again, this repeated energy of that lightning. I think you're very afraid of that. Do you see how the lightning's in the distance? I could imagine that in this scene, maybe you barely hear the thunder. In this scene, the thunder is coming right after. Like, you don't have any time to prepare. And so I feel like you're afraid of the inevitable happening. And I think what, you know, the guides or the forces of the universe or whatever you believe in that have come together to surround you and to protect the situation and to guide you where you need to go, again with that pole star energy, they want to remind you that the intervention that you will eventually face, like, is something that you can't resist. And it's something that isn't as scary as you think it will be. This person may be falling down onto these pathways, but there's many. Do you see how there are many pathways below them? And they're going to, you know, see that as like, I might fall on my face or whatever, but they have hands that can catch them. Our bodies can heal ourselves. Like, whatever the impact might be, you still have more that you are destined for beyond just this, you know, thing that wasn't going to hold itself up in the first place. And I feel like there's an energy here of allowing yourself to grieve and understand that, like, yeah, maybe things happen for a reason, but maybe also, like, things just happen because they just happen and, like, they're kind of out of our control. And I think, like, that's something that's really difficult to accept at this moment for this pile, because there's so much heartache in the subconscious mind, you recognize that this is a really transformational and emotional experience, you're being called to allow yourself to feel that and to treat yourself in the way that you would someone who is grieving or someone who is losing something that's really important, or undergoing some kind of serious like trauma. I don't know why I feel like that's happening for a lot of you. So here's the outcome of the situation. And again, we have 2 reverse cards, but I don't feel like these are necessarily like blocked energies. They're more of, with the Ace of Vessels, the Water of Life, and the 9 of Stones, tradition. This is peace. Do you see how all the other cards that have come out, I guess besides this, but this is a, reverse energy, a withheld energy, and maybe the pole star. All of the energies that have come through in terms of empowering you, in terms of getting you to focus on, what you do have come out in a very peaceful energy. And they're reminding you that you have the peace within you and the authority as well to find a wellspring of resource, of, life energy within. And I feel like that's something that's, maybe it's scary to pick up that snake, but I think it's beautiful to recognize that the snake is also a symbol to use in a ritual of, creating tradition for yourself, of illuminating your own subconscious, of connecting in with the subconscious and accepting the emotions and the beliefs and the stories that exist there. And the antlers showing up twice too, I think is showing to you to be kind to yourself. And the swan also shows up in the outcome. And so I think it's at a distance. So it's something about recognizing the transformation from afar. You're eventually going to be able to step back from this situation and see it for what it's worth and be at peace with it. And I think that's just an affirmation that Spirit wants to give you. Even though something doesn't make sense right now, you're going to understand its significance and compound upon the significance as you move forward. So I hope that this could bring you some kind of insight, some kind of clarity. I'm sending you so much love, Pile 2. I understand that this is definitely not your ideal situation in life, but you're not going to be here forever. And I just want to remind you of that. So I also want to send some gratitude to, the space, the place, the spirit that has come through and connected us to this reading today. I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you in another video, my friends. Bye. Hello, Pile 3. If you've selected Pile 3, this is your Celtic cross spread. So, we're going to try and get this in before my camera dies. So, this card that we're starting out with is the 7 of Arrows, Insecurity. And this is in the reverse position, representing you or the situation you're asking about. So I feel like a lot of you are actually asking about a condition or, seeing oneself within the environment or the circumstance, but the mind wants to see itself as, entirely unique to a situation. And like the situation only belongs to, the self or the person experiencing. And I think something that's going to be helpful for you in this moment in terms of understanding identity, understanding yourself, is that sometimes we're not unique. And I know usually we want to hear that we are unique, but I feel like for you, it's actually more comforting in this moment to recognize that you aren't unique, and that we all make mistakes, and we all have things that we feel, make us less equipped to be able to handle the things that we experience in life. But I feel that, spirit or your guides or, whatever force of the universe that has come through to bring you to this reading wants you to know that your insecurities don't define who you are. And I feel like that's something that you've had to learn very intimately recently by actually living out some of your biggest insecurities. And so either the situation that you're asking about has highlighted a really big insecurity within you to come forth in order to be healed, or there are people or energies around you in your environment that may be trying to impose new insecurities on you and make you question your divine purpose, or what you enjoy, the things that light you up, the things that make you feel connected and feel like you want to get up every day. And so it's interesting because this energy, I feel, isn't usually yours. I feel like you're not somebody who super frets or worries all the time, although you may be somebody that has quite a bit of anxiety. I don't feel like you would limit yourself to that self-definition. So there's something about your environment right now that's bringing that up, or something about this situation. So what is the challenge in this situation, or whatever's crossing it, or putting its input? It's the Nine of Stones tradition. Interesting. So for some of you, if this is a mindset thing, especially with that arrows energy coming forward, which is in the mind, the communication, there's something about like the way you've always thought, or this is the way it's always been, that's limiting the situation. You're finding it difficult to see where you've already had things taken care of in this situation. You're finding it difficult to find, there's something about like ancestry or family or something that you've inherited that has to do with part of the situation, and I can't quite figure out what it is. So maybe it's just because it's so varied. So I want to see a bit more of what's going on in the conscious. Okay. In the subconscious. Okay. In the past. In the immediate future. You know what's so funny? I just realized I didn't do a future card for any of the other piles. I just completely didn't do a fifth card, so that's fun. Anyway, maybe you're the only pile that really is allowed to have an insight into your future, I guess. So, your conscious and your subconscious are interesting to juxtapose with each other, because the Queen of Arrows often talks about, moving forward, leaving things behind, especially with the swan energy, that energy of like, reanimating, rebirthing oneself, finding grace and beauty in a situation, especially one that may have been potentially like a frustrating situation, or one that, left us with a feeling of needing to empower ourselves, especially in romance. I'm getting that a lot of you are affected, your like romantic or intimate life is influencing some of this, just for some of you. But it's about agency from that. And so your subconscious mind wants to flow. It wants to move forward and move on. And your conscious mind lines up with that. And this is actually a really good energy. with the world card being there, because the world talks about that movement, um, especially through trying or difficult times with that labyrinth going on. So I feel like your conscious and your subconscious mind are actually meeting each other quite a bit. And so I think that's why you're being described as that Seven of Arrows energy, that insecurity, because you recognize that you're not living up to that like potential that you want to be at, and you can't let other people tell you who you are or define things for you, because you have your own cycles and your own seasons and your own, journey to traverse, and you can't let other people impose what they believe, what step they believe you're on in that journey. And in your past, the King of Stones with the wolf, I feel like you really gave in to, do you see how there's that full moon energy in both of them? You really allowed for yourself to call in what is traversing this situation, the ability to heal, the ability to bring in ritual, the ability to connect with spirit in a deeper way, in order to, let a situation unfold instead of resisting that movement forward. Because look at, you move into the healing, which mimics that tradition card, and so it's really beautiful synchronization of this energy, because in the past, any of the work, the wealth mindset that you started to step into, instead of focusing on what you didn't have, you focused on what you did, what you were seeing, what was coming up in front of you, and you let your emotions come forward as well. I feel like this is quite an emotional card, and one of maybe stepping away from, the pack or the way of doing, the way of being, to recognize, who is a wolf when the wolf is not within the pack or within the group. How am I both a wolf, being my own, sovereign self, but also how am I a wolf being embodied as a wolf, having to abide by the earthly guidelines of being embodied as this wolf, if that makes any sense. Because then we have a lot of earth energy going on in here. There's so much earth energy in terms of that material manifestation. So things are really, you're seeing the consciousness in the material world and recognizing it, and that's why things are starting to heal, because you've moved that mental energy. So let's get, what is your power in this situation? The Seer, which is kind of like the High Priestess card in this deck. This is the outside perspective, so people around you or things around the situation. This is your hopes and fears, and we're going to pull your outcome card. Here it is, the Green Woman reversed. Something that I see expanding from this situation is your psychic abilities, definitely. And one way that I see this happening is you allowing yourself to be your own teacher and not relying on other people to give you confirmation, affirmation, or do the thinking for you, especially when it comes to questioning or philosophical belief as well. You're becoming much more of a philosopher on your own, especially with this Seer card representing your power and what empowers you, because this kind of draws the root of the cross as well. So this is where you anchor in to this earth plane in a sense, and something that kind of gives you the foundation to be able to find spiritual protection, find your own, convictions. And that spiritual gift is going to be unique for each person. So hi Pile 3, your reading cut out because my camera did end up dying. So I believe I had just described what was going on with your kind of root of the Celtic cross. This is basically describing your empowerment. And so the empowerment that you have comes from your ability to see your unique gifts while recognizing that you are not alone in enacting those gifts. And so your ability to offer advice not only to yourself and listen to your own inner guidance allows for you to also set an example and give advice and be a support for others as well. And point people in the right direction, or in a direction that you feel called to go and you want other people to also go. Because I feel like I needed to not censor myself, but kind of pull back for a moment in saying that, you know, you want to lead people in the right direction, because I feel like the right direction is different for each person. But I do feel from the outside, I hope I didn't say this already, and I'm not just repeating things that were said before the video cut out, but from the outside perspective, this card here being represented as the Eight of Stones, skill, people see you as highly able to, you know, go after what you need to do, but not only have the skill, as this card says, like required to get there, but you have the almost divine support around you. It's almost like you have, because of your drive, because of your passion, because of your, you know, focus, people on the outside of you see you as inevitably successful. And I feel like sometimes if you let certain people in that are not a part of that vision or a part of that journey, or they don't want to see what's best for you unfold, they can, you know, throw diversions in your path, if that makes sense. And it's not an intentional thing like these people are evil, it's just more of they don't have the same perspective as you. And I think that's what's being highlighted here, is that there is so much of yourself that is infused into whatever the situation is, that only you can go through that. And only you carry the resonance, I guess resonance could be part of it. Only you can take up that space to say what you have to say. But it's really important that you know exactly what unique aspects of you are bringing to the table. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So, the Knight of Arrows here, the hawk representing your hopes and fears for the situation. A lot of you are both hopeful that you get to the next level, whatever that means for you, that you have, you know, the motivation and the willpower and the drive to be able to speak your mind, to share your truth, to, you know, push through some of that discomfort that may come up with, you know, heading into the next level, so to speak. But also, I think that there's a fear there as well that's crossing over this energy, because it's the feathers on the hawk and the feathery coat of the seer are similar. So it's almost that what gives you your power, you're afraid to communicate it, or you have some kind of potential discomfort in embodying it and in living that truth. And so what your guides are coming through to let you know in this moment is that when we get to this point of, you know, maybe leveling up, maybe if we see it from a reincarnation perspective, maybe the hawk was once the mouse who was hunted by the hawk and was used to, when they were the mouse, burrowing, running through the grass, eating, you know, seeds and small bushy plants and berries and these kind of things. When you become the hawk, you're in a different environment. You're in the canopy, so to speak. And you have a different perspective and a different way of living, and you have to soar instead of scurry. And so there's something about the way that you move, the way that you connect with your environment, that is making you have difficulty seeing yourself in the outcome, which is why I believe it's reversed. It's because it gets held up here at this Knight of Arrows. I actually want to see what's in the guidebook for this card really quick. Because the green woman describe someone to me who is self-empowered, who walks by faith and understands that they have the ability to create with unlimited potential and see themselves in an exalted position. Someone who is exerting their force not in a way of trying to impose their will upon others, but to see them, those that are around them, bestowed with divine wisdom and divine empowerment to be alongside them for the journey and to help create an environment of prosperity. And so you want to be here, and this is something that I feel you are actively working towards, and others see it in you. But the trick is getting yourself to see those qualities that will take you there. And so I want to see what the Knight of Arrows says in the guidebook, and it says, quick, graceful, and a master of the element of air, the hawk is symbolic of vision and power. The ability to fly and nest at high altitude and see prey and hunt from a great height brings a special reverence to this majestic and fearless creature. The reading points for this card are a quicksilver messenger of fate. The hawk can help and support you to see through layers of doubt and uncertainty to the problem at the heart of the matter. Be swift and subtle and use your common sense to progress. This is a perfect card to get at this point because of the beginning of the reading, where I was picking up on this doubt and insecurity and fear that is displayed so elegantly by this deck. And it's something that's all within your own deception of yourself, because everything else around you shows that you've been doing the work to be well equipped and to have the what is the word, the qualifications. You have the, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. I guess the qualifications, but you are qualified to be where you're headed. You're just in your own process. And again, I feel like your conscious mind recognizes that, and I want to affirm that to you, that you acknowledge that you have to go through your own seasons and your own stages to get exactly where you need to go. You're in process right now. So keep doing what you're doing, pile 3. In whatever situation you're asking about, I think you know exactly what you need to do. I think I'm just here to affirm that to you. So I want to offer so much gratitude to every force that came together to bring us into this reading. I want to send you so much love, so much abundance, and so much blessings today. I will see you in another video, my friend.